What up, though? This is from All Things Cherokee. Cherokee Phoenix, the first American Indian newspaper, by Christina Berry. 1828, the first issue of the Cherokee Phoenix was published. The Cherokee syllabary was developed by Sequoyah and introduced to the Cherokee people in 1821. The Cherokee syllabary was developed by Sequoyah and introduced to the Cherokee people in 1821. Within just a few months, many Cherokee could read and write in their native language. Fast learners. First editor, Elias Boudinot. Webster's Dictionary, 1828. The American Dictionary of the English Language, 1828, Noah Webster. American, a native of America, originally applied to the Aboriginals or copper-colored races found here by the Europeans. This is copper. This is also copper. Webster's Dictionary, 1828. The American Dictionary of the English Language. Indian, a general name of any native of the Indies, as an East Indian or West Indian. It is particularly applied to any native of the American continent. This is from Library of Congress, and this is a map. This is some text with this map. The West Indies, including part of Virginia, North Carolina, East Florida, South Carolina, West Florida, Georgia, Louisiana, and the Gulf of Mexico, with part of the coast of South America, from the Bay of Honduras to the mouth of the river Orinoco, from the latest and best authorities and actual observations. And when they say Louisiana, I'm pretty sure they were including Alabama and Mississippi, etc. This is from the Library of Congress, the Cherokee Phoenix. About the Cherokee Phoenix. On October 15, 1825, the General Council of the Cherokee Nation commissioned Elias Boudinot, a Cherokee, to procure two sets of type, English and Cherokee, for a printing press. So he came up with it. Well, he was tasked with procuring two sets of type, English and Cherokee, for a printing press, with the publication of the first issue of the Cherokee Phoenix on February 21st, 1828, at New Okota, Georgia. The Cherokee Nation became the first Native American tribe with the newspaper. At the beginning, it said that this was the first American Indian newspaper. Here they say the Cherokee Nation became the first Native American tribe with the newspaper. Pay attention. The weekly newspaper used the 86-character Cherokee syllabary developed by the Cherokee Sequoyah in 1821. All matter will be given in both languages in parallel columns. Included were printed tribal laws, official notes, official notices, news articles, prayers, and historical descriptions in Cherokee and English. The Cherokee Phoenix was published during a time of increasing tensions between the Cherokee Nation and the United States. Tensions that were exacerbated by the discovery of gold in the Cherokee lands in the state of Georgia. Elias Boudinot, a seminary-educated Cherokee, was its first editor. Boudinot resigned from his editorial position in the spring of 1832 when he disagreed with the General Council's continued opposition to removal. Poor finances and lack of resources led to increasingly erratic publishing, and the final issue was published May 31st, 1834. Although the Cherokee Nation General Council planned to revive the paper in 1835, the presses were seized by the Georgia Guard. Britannica Online Encyclopedia. Remember, Sequoyah produced the Cherokee syllabary, which led to Cherokees learning it and being able to read and write the Cherokee language as he wrote it down or originated it. Sequoyah, born 1775, Tuskegee, North Carolina colony, was the creator of the Cherokee writing system. He never learned to speak, read, or write English. He was an accomplished silversmith, painter, and warrior, and served with the U.S. Army. And at this point, I was wondering what language he spoke, but I guess he spoke Cherokee. He never learned to speak, read, or write English. So I guess he was born speaking Cherokee. Let's move on. About 1809, he began working to develop a system of writing for the Cherokees. He began working on a system of writing for the Cherokees, adapting letters from English, Greek, and Hebrew. Although he never learned to speak, read, or write English, he developed his system of writing the Cherokee language. He developed his system of writing the Cherokee syllabary, the Cherokee language, and he adapted letters from English, Greek, and Hebrew, although he never learned to speak, read, or write English. By 1821, he had created a system of 86 symbols representing all the syllables of the Cherokee language. Does anyone know how long it takes to develop a writing system? How long the average writing system takes to develop? Not long, I guess. Soon, Cherokees throughout the nation were teaching it in their schools. The Cherokees had schools. Who funded these schools, and why the need for schools all of a sudden? I'll leave that to you. Sequoyah's name was given to the giant redwoods of the Pacific coast. Sequoyah, the Georgia Cherokee name, was symbolic of the giant redwoods of the Pacific coast, the West Coast. East Coast guy with a West Coast name. Camden News. Elias Cornelius Boudinot was born in the chaos of the fall of the southeastern tribes and in the infighting of Cherokee politics. His father was a Cherokee leader and his mother was a white woman from Connecticut, which tells us nothing. He was born in August 1835 at the Cherokee capital of New Echota in Georgia. His father, also named, I would be interested in knowing about New Echota, Georgia. His father, also named Elias, had been a prominent leader in the Cherokee Nation. In 1839, his father was assassinated by a number of his fellow Cherokees for signing the treaty. His uncle, Stand Waite, would later become the principal chief of the Cherokees during the Civil War. Boudinot became the first Native American allowed to try a case. We haven't heard American Indian, but what we have heard is Native American. Two different peoples. Two different peoples. Boudinot became the first Native American allowed to try a case as an attorney before the U.S. Supreme Court. In 1859, he was elected to the Fayetteville City Council and co-founded a newspaper, the Arkansian. Boudinot joined the Secessionist in 1861. He was named secretary of the Secession Convention and became editor of a Little Rock newspaper, the Little Rock True Democrat. He defended the aims of secession. Once Arkansas pulled out of the Union, he worked with Waite and prominent attorney Albert Pike to persuade the Cherokees to side with the Confederacy in a new treaty in 1862. Most of the Cherokees sided with the Confederacy. Ironically, siding with many of the same politicians who had called for their removal to the Indian Territory years later. Boudinot would eventually become the Cherokee delegate to the Confederate Congress in Richmond. He would also rise to lieutenant colonel during the war. After the Civil War, he became part of the Cherokee delegation to Congress in Washington, D.C. Boudinot called for Native Americans to be granted U.S. citizenship in order to be protected under law, but his call would not be heeded until 1924. 1924, famously known for the Racial Integrity Act by William Plecker. As a lobbyist in his public speeches, he increasingly called for more federal lands for railroads and for railroad routes through tribal lands. So he's a Cherokee and he's a Cherokee and he's lobbying for more federal lands for railroads and for railroad routes through tribal lands. In 1874, he became the private secretary for U.S. Rep. Thomas M. Gunter of Fayetteville, a fellow Confederate veteran, as he ascended to Congress. Impressed with his work for Gunter, U.S. Senator James D. Walker then hired Boudinot as his secretary. He became consumed by his own greed and ambition. He played into the long-standing prejudices against Native Americans in order to pursue his own gains with the railroads and political aims. He traveled across the country on speaking tours, often espousing the breakup of the tribes and opening up reservation lands for farming. In 1879, he wrote in an open letter that the open lands of the Indian Territory should be open for settlement, including Cherokee lands. The tribes did not use all of their lands, and this meant seizing the lands given to them by federal treaties. This would lead to the seizure of hundreds of thousands of acres of tribal land. In 1887, he became a vocal defender of the Dawes Act, which would break up the reservation lands in favor of individual plots owned by individual members of the tribes. Hence, individual members who were more connected to the federal government within those tribes. This is from Ancestry.com. This is Elias C. Boudinot, Oklahoma and Indian Territory Indian Census Rolls. Elias Boudinot, in 1883, he was living in Tahlequah, and he's listed as a Cherokee, a Native American tribe. Here is the document from that actual document. It says, payroll by right of Cherokee blood. This is 1883. As you can see down below, it's E.C. Boudinot. And this is the 1860 census, United States Federal Census, Elias C. Boudinot. He is 25 in 1860. He was born about 1835. They have his race listed as white. His birthplace as Georgia. Home in 1860, Little Rock, Pulaski, Arkansas. Remember, he was the editor of the Arkansian newspaper in Little Rock, Arkansas. The post office is Little Rock. So he's living in a household with 2, 4, 6 other people. One 50 years old, one 28, 24, 26, 13, 25, and he's 25. He's living in a dwelling with 2, 4, 6 other males. Here is that census record. The city of Little Rock, Pulaski, county of Pulaski, state Arkansas, July 2nd, 1860. And there he is, Elias Boudinot, along with his 6 male roommates. And here is it says, the Southern Cherokee delegation to Washington in 1866 was sent to negotiate a new treaty with the United States at the end of the American Civil War. From left to right, John Rowland Yellowbird Ridge, Saladin Wadey, Richard Fields, Elias C. Boudinot, and William Penn Adair. Delegates not pictured were Stan Wadey and Joseph A. Scales. Interesting. This gives me a new perspective on who the Native Americans really are and who the American Indians are. Although I'm pretty sure I have a real solid understanding of who the American Indians are. And now we know who the Native Americans are. This is Elias Boudinot. This is Elias C. Boudinot, Native American. Wait. Where's the copper? That's unfortunate. This is Elias Boudinot. Editor of the Cherokee Phoenix, the first American Indian newspaper. I think it would be more accurate to say the first Native American newspaper. What do you think? It says this is Cherokee Nation Museum in Park Hill, Oklahoma. Two monuments, one for Elias Boudinot and one for Cherokee leaders, including Major Ridge, Elias Boudinot, Stand Watie, and Sequoia. Yeah, they needed their own schools. And I have to admit, I've never seen a Native American, well, maybe I have, by a different race or nationality, but they would need their own schools to keep their understanding of their origins tight lipped. Do the right thing